Good evening and welcome to TNN's special coverage on how modern culture, quote-unquote, copied ancient Roman Greece.
Some of the information we are covering are over government, architecture, drama, and athletics. TNN News starts now.
From the TNN headquarters in Indiana, this is Toga Nightly News with Caleb and John.
To start off this special news coverage, TNN correspondent Larson Pavey recently stumbled upon two men from ancient Roman Greece, frozen in ice, whom have agreed to an interview to discuss ancient government. Larson?
Okay, hello, Christian Eccles. I will call you Christian for the sake of this interview, easier to say. So, we have found you and a fellow other person in an iceberg with you. And, you come from Greek times, and you lived in Athens? Okay. So, I actually have some questions about the government of Athens and stuff like that. So, democracy, which is what we call today, is the government that was founded in Athens. In the 5th century BC, when a man named Solon,
I remember.
So he needed a new form of government with the help of two others to run Athens. Can you tell me, like, what was the governing idea that they had, and how does this relate to what we have today?
Well, back in my time, when we didn't call it democracy, it was just a form of government that we made to govern our country, seeing as all other governments didn't really hold out that well for other countries and cities. So we made it where people would be elected or voted in to run the country in certain parts of ways. So people, basically male landowners, those were the only ones that could vote, would go in and vote for the people they wanted to run the country, and that's just how it went.
Okay, and then, so you guys voted individually, like each person? You didn't have representatives there?
No.
So how did this voting work? Like, did you guys have a meeting place, and who all was allowed to vote? Exactly. This might help you out. So,
Steve.
Oh, it is, okay.
So, yeah, back in our time we had a big meeting place on probably the highest hill in the city, we called the Acropolis, where people would meet to vote for their people they wanted to elect for the country, and then they just simply left, and people who had the highest votes would win. That's all.
Okay, so that is all the questions I have for you. Thank you for being here. I would actually like to ask a question to the Roman that we found in the here. Okay. No fighting guys. Okay. So, we found you an iceberg also. Welcome to the interview.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Similar to what we asked Christian Eccles here, what exactly did the Romans create that we still use today in forms of government?
Unlike the stupid Greeks, we invented the Senate, of course, and you use it today in a different way. We used it to balance powers from the dictator of the day. In my day, it was Caesar. And then we made laws and such and created armies.
Okay, well, very informative. I would like to thank you both for this interview.
And now we head over to Derek Fisher, who is interviewing three very respected ancient philosophers in hope to establish their philosophical views. Derek?
Thank you for joining me today, Socrates.
You're welcome.
So what is your view on philosophy?
I believe that the goal of education is only to improve the individual.
Thank you.
No problem.
Thank you for joining me, Plato.
You're welcome.
So there are many different views on philosophy. What's yours?
The ideal form is not the tree, but the tree-ness.
Thank you for coming here today.
It's my pleasure.
Thank you for joining me for this interview today, Aristotle.
Yeah, whatever.
Okay. I just got done speaking to Plato about his view on philosophy. What's yours?
Oh, Plato, that old man knows nothing. Plato says by examining individual objects, we can perceive their form. But I feel we know what treeness is by examining the trees. Do you know?
Oh. Well, thank you for your opinion.
You're welcome, I guess.
That'll be all. Now that you have heard from each one of these three amazing philosophers, each one has their own view. Who will you decide with? Aristotle, Socrates, or Pluto? You decide.
Thanks, Derek. With all of our buildings, it's interesting to know where the ideas came from, and Chief Architectural Correspondent Isabel Carmona has the answer.
Good morning, Fremont High School. How are you doing? I really don't care. Sure, I can report on the Taliban, politics, or puppies in airports, but I don't want to. I'm going to talk about the importance of architecture in America. People pretty much don't believe that we copycatted anybody's ideas, just how Apple keeps suing everyone for stealing their ideas. In all actuality, America did copy Greek and Roman architecture. I know you don't want to hear one boring speech, but I don't care about that either. So just try to stay awake for the sake of Team Domo's grade. And if you do try and fall asleep, I give Mr. Arndt permission to throw a grilled cheese sandwich at your face. Similar to the Roman and Greek buildings, America has modeled many buildings in their design. Example would most likely be the Lincoln Memorial, which was based off the Parthenon. Even modern amphitheaters like the Hollywood Bowl wouldn't be here without the ancient Greeks. Sure, we don't have naked statues of naked gods or famous people, but I don't think Americans roll like that. Like many arches in Rome, the most famous would be the Arch of Constantine. The St. Louis Arch was one of the many arches in America that was inspired by the Constantine. Now, I'm not saying to go out of class and take a field trip to go see the arch, but I am saying they are very intriguing. The sides of the famous Greek Parthenon were built in the Doric columns. Columns were the hallmarks of classic Greek architecture. Columns include the shaft, no, not what you think of, or the tubular column itself, a capital or crown of the shaft, and the entablature, or rows of blocks above the columns. Ancient Greek architecture includes three styles of columns: Doric, Ionic, and Corinthian. Some buildings included rows of columns called colonnades. Ancient Greek buildings also included the temple, used for storage of treasure, the gymnasium, an open-air enclosed space for athletics, and the tholos, a circular structure for a religious purpose. Now, columns were pretty much the basic structures of all Greek and Roman buildings. Without all the columns, then we'd have some pretty flat-looking Greeks. The definition of a column is a structured element that transmits through compression and the weight of the structure above the other structural elements below. In other words, that isn't boring, a column that is a compression member to keep the roof above people's heads. For the purpose of wind or earthquake engineering, columns may be designed to resist lateral forces. More about columns would be the different types. Ionic columns are the triangular at the top and twist slightly to keep the roof above heads. Doric columns were in contemporary house. The Doric is the oldest and plainest of the columns. It does not have a base like other columns do, and its shaft is many-sided. It has a triangular pennant roof, which is often sculpted in a particular shape. The fees of the blocks of the entablature might be sculpted or contain a pattern of three vertical lines interspersed with the blank spaces. Many modern homes and commercial buildings are decorated with these columns. Corinthian columns with a modern twist, shafts without flutes. The Corinthian is a most ornate column. Its capital is heavily decorated with a leaf motif. Usually, acanthus leaves, or the leaves from the Mediterranean era, is a fluted shaft and a layered base. The Corinthian, with its flat roof, does not have a pentament. The U.S. White House in its front colonnade demonstrates a modern twist of the Corinthian columns without traditional flutes running up the columns. In conclusion, America's most famous buildings were based off Greek and Roman building structures. Without them, we'd all pretty much be living in the woods. So we have the Greek and Romans to thank for our awesome buildings. Our ability to copy everything we see and say it was our own idea is still very successful. Thank you for listening and not falling asleep.
Thanks, Isabel. How do we get to our cities? We had to have people to make them, and city planners to do it. To explain a little more, we send you off to McKenna Cade with the concept of city planning in ancient Roman Greece. McKenna?
Hello, I'm McKenna Cade, broadcasting live today with Jordan Lovett, Kira Flanagan, and Spencer Stuckey. We are bringing to you tonight a special segment of Roman and modern city planning.
Ancient Rome was the first city to accumulate 1 million.
Romans mastered the building of roads. They constructed 50,000 miles of roads.
Both Roman and modern roads were made out of cement. Roman roads were also sometimes made out of stones.
The Romans' uses of arch and their improvements in the use of concrete and bricks facilitated the building of many aqueducts throughout the empire,
such as the aqueduct of Segovia and the 11 aqueducts that were in Rome itself. Roads were built around two main intersections in the city.
This is an example of an ancient Roman aqueduct.
Sometimes modern cities is built around two main roads. Modern cities differ from large cities to smaller cities. Big cities like Los Angeles have big city blocks. Los Angeles is divided into over 80 districts and neighborhoods. Los Angeles roads run parallel to each other. The blocks are larger than they are wide. There is a famous aqueduct in Los Angeles. The aqueduct consists of 223 miles of 12-foot diameter steel pipe, 120 miles of railroad track, 200 hydroelectric plants, 70 miles of power line, 240 miles of telephone line, a cement plant, and 500 miles of roads.
The aqueducts begin in Owens River and ends in Upper Van Norman's Lake. Buildings in Los Angeles are very big and made to grow up.
Cities like Fort Wayne are different than cities like Los Angeles. There are not as many roads and buildings. Fort Wayne does not have an aqueduct.
Roads are constructed in a similar way to Los Angeles.
Both Roman and modern city planners had the brilliant idea of using aqueducts and fountains to bring water to the city people.
Also, both Roman empires and modern cities have or had armies to protect their people.
Lastly, Roman roads and modern roads are both made out of cement.
Roman cities had a more defined and organized grid system. Roman cities had a very structured system, while modern cities have a quasi-grid system that are a result of rapid population growth.
Modern cities have much larger buildings. Roman cities still have large buildings, but comparatively small compared to the skyscrapers we know of today.
Modern aqueducts are a large pipe. Ancient aqueducts were an open bridge style structure.
Overall, both Roman and modern cities have many similarities and differences.
Now we turn to drama. The way to entertain, it's always been very distinct in ancient culture, and even now. And to tell us a little bit more about that, we go to our drama specialist, Blaine Parrish. Blaine?
Good morning. Thank you, John and Caleb. This is Blaine, and thank you for joining in this evening. This evening, I'll be talking about drama. The drama back in the day would be like they were presented outdoors in theaters or at religious. They will write their own scripts and their own drama and plays. The two kinds of drama was in the Greek times, they were comedy and tragedies. What the Romans performed in the theater called Phantom. The Phantom, the Romans built their theaters with stone. Now off to Caitlin to enter Sophocles about drama.
Thank you, Blaine. This is Caitlin. Sophocles, what is Greek drama like?
Thank you, Caitlin, for having me today. Well, they have tragedies, which are presented in a trilogy, which is a set of 3 plays built around a common theme.
What about Roman drama?
They adopted Greek style of art. The Greek sculptures aimed for ideal appearance in their figures. They excelled in architecture. They are superb builders.
You talked about the Greeks having tragedies. What did they talk about in those tragedies?
Well, they had comedies for entertainment and to make fun of the politicians.
Is there anything else you'd like to say?
Well, is there anything more wonderful on Earth, our marvelous planet, than the miracle of man?
Thank you, Sophocles. Now back to Blaine.
Thank you, Caitlin and Sophocles. But now we're going to change this picture around and talk about the drama nowadays, like the Saturday Night Live and Mad TV. And now we have plays in high school. And everyone loves to come to see the high school and watch all the plays and musicals. Plus, there's a lot of drama in high school, like people starting rumors and everything else. Drama has changed from back then to now. Now you yell at someone and now it's called drama. Drama is not as important today as it was back then. Things like sports are more important, and now we pay more attention to those instead of drama. Now back to Caleb.
Thank you, Blaine. We've always had games, and there's always been a winner. But the ancient games that were played in ancient Roman Greece, they were compiled with blood and death. And to interview an existing gladiator here is Jordan Schmucker with Varus, the gladiator.
Thank you. I'm sitting here with Gladiator Varius to discuss some topics on life as a gladiator. So, Varius, how do you prepare for such a tragic event such as gladiatorial wars?
Well, it's a life or death situation here. So I go in thinking I'm not going to lose. I'll do whatever it takes to win.
Okay, so what exactly do you mean by that?
As a gladiator, you train to fight other people like you do today in the MMA. The only thing is, more likely, if you're not the winner, you're dead. So if it means I have to kill another person to live another day, I'm doing that.
Interesting. Very interesting. So, while you're in the stadium and all these eyes are sitting on you, just waiting for your opponent to die, what kind of feelings do you get or goes through your mind?
It's exciting. If you can imagine what it's like to be in the Super Bowl, I feel the same butterflies and nerves as they do. When it gets going, it all turns into focus. Everything is cleared out of your mind. It feels like tunnel vision. Just you and your opponent, one-on-one, and trying to stay alive.
Seems pretty intense to me. A couple more questions here. After you have defeated your opponent and see him laying there dead, what goes through your mind?
Honestly, it's a sign of relief that I won. I don't really think about it a lot of the time. I just feel like it's my job. It's what I do. It's not necessarily a bad thing.
Okay, to go more in detail with what I'm looking for. Throughout life, do you ever look back and ask, why did I do that?
Yes and no. I feel like at times I feel bad for the dad or the husband was killed. But at the same time, I feel like it was war. And your family knows you're going in maybe to be killed or to possibly become a hero. I feel like it was what I do. It's like a job. The other man is trying to kill me as well. So I'm just trying to self-defend myself and my body.
Okay, and for the last question. Do you feel as if you're a hero?
Most definitely. I feel like I fought for my life. I had to fight off animals and other men that are trying to kill me. Most people couldn't do that. I bet you any athlete today couldn't do that. I feel as if people look up to me, hoping I'm the one that lives.
Thank you very much, Barrios. Now, Miranda with more sports.
Thanks, Jordan. Chelsea Sherburne and I are here with a new update for you viewers on the Roman sports. There are some new sports being played. Volleyball, which has evolved from episkiros epinioki. Another new sport is rugby, which is from the game herpesium. Episkiros, epinioki, and herpesium are ball games that date back to 1,000 years. To play these new sports, you have to be physically fit and have a lot of physical ability.
This makes for the best entertainment, since the games are no longer played for religious reasons. We have not only updated the games, we've also updated where the games are played. We have gone to sitting 50,000 to 114,000 in modern-day stadiums. Modern updates are becoming bigger and better every year.
Thanks, everyone. Every 4 years, we hold an athletic event called the Olympics, where we pit countries against countries. Think we started it? Well, think again. Kyle Bookout and Bryce Thomas are here to explain more.
The Olympics were started around 3,000 years ago in 776 BC. As a way to find priests and priestesses, they had competitions that were held every Olympiad or 4 years.
The Olympics were not just athletic events, but also had rituals and ceremonies before and after the games for religious purposes.
The ancient games had much fewer events than today's games. One of the ancient events was chariot racing. This event was comprised of 2 horses and 4-horse chariots. The length of them were 9 miles or 12 laps around the stadium. Another event was running. There were 4 different races, but the most challenging was the marathon.
Another one of the events was horse racing. They had separate races for foals and full-grown horses. The next event was boxing. The competitors would fight until one of the competitors was knocked out. There were also no weight classes. Another event that was similar to the modern-day MMA was pancration. The opponents were allowed to break each other's fingers but could not fight.
The pentathlon was another one of the events. It included running, jumping, javelin, discus, and wrestling.
The modern-day Olympics include many more events, including archery, basketball, javelin, track, fencing, tennis, and many more.
Nowadays, victors are awarded gold, silver, and bronze for first, second, and third place.
In the ancient Olympics, champions would receive olive wreaths like this.
Also, some of the modern-day events were derived from the ancient games. These include running, wrestling, javelin, and a few more.
The modern-day Olympics and ancient games also had opening and closing ceremonies to signal the beginning and end of the games.
And there's also a myth that these were found in the Oracle of Delphi, at the Oracle of Delphi.
And that concludes our news segment for tonight, ladies and gentlemen. Thanks for tuning in, and see us next time.
Caleb and John, sign